Cha-ching! Eating it. Open your mouth. Where's Hook? Grab. There we go. That's a good one. Heck yeah. Yo, what's up, everyone? We are finally back. We're finally back after a great vacation, birthday celebration. Headed up north for a while. Essentially, this is the breakdown. It was 10 days. We fished 15 different lakes. Some new, some old. Had a blast. It was a very long trip. We fished 10 to 12 hour days. We were up from 3:30 every morning, driving to a lake, fishing 6 hours per lake. We'd go 6 hours and we'd drive to the next lake, fish 6 hours or 5 hours, however long we could stand it. I left like 2 weeks ago. I got back on Wednesday evening. Fished some just lakes that I love fishing up in Wisconsin, southern, northern, middle Wisconsin. We just kind of bounced around to just some of the lakes that we've heard about, and just a buddy of mine, he met me up there and we just had a good time. And I'm just going to go through some of the, I only really used like 4 or 5 different rigs. I mean, I've been up there for like 6 or 7 years. I fished tournaments on Lake Geneva up there. So I've fished that area. So I know what those fish are doing this time of year, and I get them pretty dialed in pretty quickly. So it's always a good thing when you can go to old water, new water, and get stuff dialed in right away. You don't have to spend and waste a lot of time finding fish. But yeah, I mean, it was cool. It was 10 days, 15 lakes. We drove about 1,550 miles. I only spent $65 in the boat, gas. I did $20 one day, $20 another day, and $25 another day. A lot of these lakes are smaller. You don't have to run a ton. And if you do, you run into like a line of 600 docks, and you start fishing docks. Or if you do weed lines, you'll drift a weed line and idle over to the next weed line. So you're not burning a ton of gas. We fished the Madison Chain, never been there. I think we fished like 3 or 4 lakes over there, and they're all connected if you look at the map. So you fish one lake, then you got to run and idle through this canal and run to another lake and another idle through another canal to another lake. So I think that was the day we burned the most gas, just because I've never fished there and had no clue what to do. That actually was probably one of our worst days, just because it was a Sunday. There was tons of boats out in the afternoon. I also just didn't really know what, we fished weed lines out there. We fished deep, we fished shallow, we fished froggins. We did pretty much whatever we could, and we just couldn't find the massive amounts of fish that I've been finding the other 14 lakes that we fished. So it was a really cool trip. It was really hot down here. So I left. We hit it perfect. There was a big cold front that came through. It was like in the 70s, low 70s, 71 for 3 days. We met one of our Omega pro staff directors up north. He met us on a lake that he wanted to fish. It was 49 in the morning there. I hadn't seen 49 in like 5 months, so it was a change, but it was beautiful. It was awesome. But these are pretty much the baits that we used. I'm gonna probably put some video up and connect some stuff. And we fished a lot of docks. I skip a ton of docks up there. They're pole docks, metal docks. They're not like the docks here where they float. They are up off the water, so they're easier to skip. I mean, if you can skip a jig, I can skip the hell out of them. So We always try to hit the docks on some of the dirtier colored lakes. So on that note, this is one of the rods I mainly use. This is one of the combos I mainly used. This is the Dobyns Ecstasy 755. This is just one of the colors that we use. This is the Omega, I don't even know. This is not Purple Haze. It's like crazy, I don't know. It's got a ton of purple to it. With the D-Bomb, purple, watermelon, green pumpkin, laminate. Matches the jig perfectly. We were fishing a little bit dirtier water, and there's a ton of bluegills up under the docks. They're pretty shallow. This is 25 pounds Seaguar Brazex. I try not to go anything less fishing those docks up there just because of the mussels, everything that attached to them. And we're catching pretty good fish, 3.5 to 5.5 pounds on the docks. So, I mean, it's definitely got some rub here. I'd probably retie. I actually need to respool this whole thing because we retied a ton. Paired with a Daiwa Steez Limited 8:1-to-1 gear ratio. Phenomenal combo, extremely light, extremely sensitive. It's probably one of the best combos. I've got a couple of these combos just because they're so versatile at throwing football jigs and just skipping jigs in general. Incredible combo. I had my buddy pick it up and fish it, and he was going crazy with it. But this is my meat and potatoes. I mean, I use this, this combo a ton. That's why I carry a few of them, so I can kind of rotate through them. The next one for shallow water fishing, of course, you got lily pads, you got grass, you've got shallow rock, you've got cover, you've got under docks. I actually threw two of them. This is the Champion 736. This is the Daiwa SSSV 105 XHL. This is an 8:1-to-1. Swapped out a carbon handle on it. 65-pound braid Smackdown from Seaguar. And I was throwing different frogs. I was kind of going through a bunch of different frogs just to try them out. I think this is the Kahara frog. Awesome little frog. It's a half-ounce frog, but it's super tiny. A little bit more finesse. Super sharp hooks. Walks pretty well. It's got the center-lined weight here. Small, a little bit more finesse. The other one I was throwing was the, which is over here. And I was throwing another frog that's discontinued that I usually don't talk about because it's an incredible frog. And I've caught some giants on it. That's the Kahara. 65 pound. I actually had a slight issue with it. It was binding up, and I just got so much grime in the worm gear, and the powell got locked up on the worm gear. Fixed that when I got home. That was no problem. So now it is good to go. I probably replace the worm and the pawl this winter when I get time, when I'm actually not fishing it full time, because this is my #1 frog combo. This is for like super thick, heavy cover, general, skipping, everything, power rod. When I wasn't using that combo, I switched over to this combo. This one is a blast to fish. This is a Daiwa Pixie Type R. Yes, it's a finesse style reel. I wouldn't recommend using it for frogging, but I do anyways because it is tiny. It is a blast to fish. This is 50 pound, I think this is 50 pound Power Pro. And this is throwing one of my favorite finesse walking frogs. This is the Depths Slither K. It's got like a rabbit tail or rabbit fur on it. Center lined weight. It walks extremely well in open water. I wouldn't say it's the best slop frog, but I did catch a bunch of fish in lily pads with it, and the hookup ratio was great. It is super soft. Yeah, I mean, it's extremely soft. I probably wouldn't throw it in like slimy slop just because the hooks sit a little higher than the body. That's why I recommend it for open water. I throw it a ton here on just bare rock and stuff because I get a better hookup ratio. And this is actually another, this is 755. This is actually an OG like prototype from years ago that didn't come out. Instead they came out with the Ecstasies. This combo weighs absolutely nothing. It is a blast of fish. I think it's under 10 ounces, probably like a 9.5 ounce combo. Super fun to fish. But that is the other slop frogging. I caught some 3s and 4 pounders on it when we were largemouth fishing. But that's pretty much what I use for largemouth fishing. We did fish deep a little bit on some of the lakes, but mainly we were skipping docks, and I was throwing a 1/2 ounce jig on weed lines. The 2 combos that we caught smallmouth on, and I'll link some photos. We caught some really good smallmouth. We hit a new lake up north. Never fished it before. Spent a little bit, had some very little knowledge of it. Had some areas of where to start. Pretty much idled and just scanned. I looked for as much rock as I possibly could. You find the rock, and then you'd find the fish. So we'd find rock, stop and fish it. Number 1 combo was definitely this right here. This is an Ecstasy 724 and a Steez SV TWS with 17-pound Tatsu. This is probably the most enjoyable smallmouth combo. I like, you know, I'm not really a drop shot fan. It's fun. You catch big fish on it at the right time. But with rock, the drop shot would get hung up and you break off and all that kind of stuff. And they were choking up and puking up these tiny little crawfish. We tried to get them to eat like the Omega Baby J, the Righteous, even the football jig, but they just wouldn't touch it. I don't know if it was the profile, the hook size. This is a secondary bait I was using. This is the Picasso Fantasy Football. I was mainly throwing the Picasso Tungsten Aaron Martens football jig. It's a tiny, it's a 1/2 ounce, but the head's a 1/4. And the hook shank was like a 3/0, so it was a little bit shorter than this one. I think this is a 4/0 or 5. But the tungsten one was the deal. I could feel with this combination, I could feel every pebble, rock, and throwing a 1/2 ounce and having a smaller profile. That bait, as soon as you throw it in, it would just drop straight like a rock and keep contact with the bottom. And what I wanted to do was kind of hop it off the bottom. And if I was in like that slime grass or any of that snot grass, or I call it witch's hair, I would snap it off pretty quick and there wouldn't be a slow fall rate. It would snap up and drop right back down. Or I'd drag it kind of like a Carolina rig and I could feel everything on it. We would see like fish cruising and stuff, and they were just cruising on the bottom. I would try to keep it as compact as possible. I trimmed the skirt quite a bit shorter, and we used a couple different trailers. I think this is the Missile Baits Craw Pappy, maybe. This is essentially like their flipping bait. Awesome. I would just trim off the first 2 ribs on the top, slide it on, be good to go. I would use this. I would use the Missile Craw. That has like no action to it. It's a good shaky head bait. It's very similar profile to this. It just doesn't have the pinchers that flap. It's just straight pinchers to it. And I would use the Missile Baby Destroyer. Same thing. Very compact, small, a little bit more action. I would also tip the claws with an orange marker and the head with orange. All the little claws that they were spitting up, just the tips were very, very bright orange. They were green pumpkin-y tan, orange color to them, so I would try to match the hash with them. It's this hook, you know, you're like, oh my God, you're not using an Omega jig. We tried. We just needed a smaller profile hook. These fish, I mean, the mouths are tiny on them. Instead of having that EWG come up and out, the round bend, the shorter, you know, the shorter gap on the round bend was perfect for the fish. A little bit different line tie on it as well. So, it just worked perfect. I mean, this was the perfect compact size for it. Pretty small size to it. They probably crushed the Righteous. We just needed a heavier one. I just needed something like half to maybe a smidge more than half. As soon as I was throwing like a 3/4, they would get stuck in the rocks. But, you know, anything lighter, it just took forever for it to fall down, and you just didn't have that bottom contact that I needed. So I lost those 2. I've got a bunch more in order because I will be going back. But this thing was an absolute freaking blast. I mean, this thing weighs nothing. extremely sensitive. I mean, you could feel every damn rock down there. I was just quietly impressed, you know, with that. Awesome combo. And then if you watch my Facebook Live, we went live. I hooked into a really good fish. I was throwing my, I mean, this has got to be my favorite combo ever. This is the DX701C Finesse. They no longer make it. This is my only one. I've talked about it a ton. If anybody knows where I can get some more, just shoot me a message. I'd like to get at least 2 or 3 more. They are just a joy to fish with. This is a Daiwa Pixie SPR, 4-pound Yo-Zuri hybrid. And I was throwing the turd. The stupidest bait in the world, but it catches big fish, especially smallmouth. Just an easy bait. This is one of the heavier ones. This is probably a 1/4 ounce or something. Not really sure. It's pretty beat up. I even flipped around the TRD just because it was getting destroyed and it wouldn't stay on. Just a blast to fish. I mean, if you saw in the video, I can control these fish pretty well with a bait caster and not have to use a spinning rod, just because I know the limitations of the whole combo. I've caught many smallmouth over 6 pounds on this combo. I've caught hundreds of them over 3 and 4 pounds on this combo. It is an absolute blast to fish, and I hope it lasts me 20 more years. It's just a fun combo to fish. I love fishing it for largemouth, smallmouth, trout, everything. Just an absolute joy to fish with. But those are pretty much the 4 or 5 combos that we used. We tried other stuff. We couldn't really get them to bite. As soon as we got them dialed in, I mean, we just killed them. I mean, we crushed them. We caught tons of fish, 4s and 5s, and tons of 2.5s, 3.5s. I mean, we had 19.5 pounds the morning I drove home on a new lake. So, skipping docks and everything, fishing slop, absolute blast. Other than that, getting back, working on reels. I've got Bocas in stock. I've got oil in stock. I've got pliers, painting baits. I'm getting ready maybe to go back up north for a little special project. I don't know what's going on. And then I'm headed to South Kentucky Lake. And I probably will not bring a single rod because I'm going with the wife and we're just going to hang out and have fun at the lake house. So, other than that, guys, I'm going to drop some videos and stuff, and we'll talk to you guys later. Smash that thumbs up. Hope you guys had a good one. If you have something you want me to shoot a video on, drop it down below. I just haven't been doing a ton of YouTube stuff. I've just been busy and got other stuff going on, and I've just been slammed and trying to fish and trying to do baits and trying to do prototype testing, so I can't shoot videos. You know, that's one of the main reasons why I can't shoot a ton of videos is I've got a lot of prototypes in the boat. When we go up north, I've got ideas and I'm running through them and I'm talking to a buddy, and you know, I can't get any of that stuff on video, so it's hard for me to shoot videos other than doing like some recaps and cool like rigging stuff and all that kind of stuff. But if you got some ideas, post them down below and we'll talk to you guys later, man. Thanks.